Welcome back. Well, the budget's handed down, and so now the real work begins to get the various measures through the Parliament. One of the key players in the Senate is One Nation, and they'll also play a pivotal role in the upcoming by-elections. Joining me tonight from Brisbane to discuss these issues and a whole lot more is One Nation's leader, now the leader for life, and we'll get to that in a minute, Pauline Hanson. Thanks for your time, Senator. It's great to have you on the show. I'm going to start with these by-elections. Five seats in play across 4 different states. Are you going to run, is One Nation going to run in all of those contests? The Liberals over the weekend said they will not run in the 2 WA races, but they'll run in the other 3. What's the One Nation view?
We're not going to run in every seat. We won't be running in South Australia, and we won't run in Perth. We're definitely running in Longman, and actually I'm considering Braddon, and I'm considering Fremantle.
Now that's an interesting one, Fremantle, because the Libs are not in that because it's very much, as they see it, a Labor Greens contest. Yep. Why are you in Fremantle? Why are you considering Fremantle?
I believe we do have support in Fremantle, and those Conservative votes need to go somewhere. And anyway, we're considering it, and it depends on the candidate, you know, our candidate, and I'll be talking to them further.
So a little bit of history. In 2016, there's no way that Susan Lamb would have won Longman without the support of One Nation, or indeed One Nation preferencing the Labor Party. Why did you preference the Labor Party and not where you've traditionally given support, and that's the coalition? Why did you go with Labor?
Well, I think we decided to go with Labor in that one. We've actually, we're not favourable towards Wyatt Roy, the candidate, and I do look at the candidates in these seats. Clearly our preferences did put Susan Lamb in, and therefore, you know, with Bill Shorten's attitude and preferencing the Greens, it's actually, you know, we're going to think twice about where we send our preferences. It's, Peter, people must understand, it's the voter. They control their preferences, not the political parties. It's only a recommendation, they how to vote cards. So we will recommend to the voters how they possibly should vote, but they're the ones that mark the ballot paper. It's up to them where they want to send their preferences.
It's interesting. I saw a response that Bill Shorten sent you today in response to a fairly cordial letter that you wrote him saying we're getting into the business end of the election cycle with these by-elections and the general election. One Nation's looking at what it will do with its preferences. We want to know that you'll put the Greens last. That's the tone of the letter that you wrote. I saw it. It seemed very professional. You got a pretty tough one back from Bill Shorten. He accused you of all manner of things, but has basically said you're nothing more than a patsy of Malcolm Turnbull's government, and he said that you now put the top end of town before battlers. I'm quoting his letter, and that he will be putting, or Labor will be putting, One Nation at the back of the queue. Does that mean they're going to preference the Greens, do you think, ahead of One Nation?
Oh, of course they will. They always do. They've always put us last, even in Queensland state elections, so nothing's new to me. That's Bill Shorten. You know, this is the man who gets 30% of the support to be the next Prime Minister of this country. People don't trust him. And heaven help us if he ends up Prime Minister of this country. Look, Bill has lied, hand on heart, you know. These people, you know, they'll pass. No, they've definitely got their citizenship. They're well unjust. They're all above board. He lied about that. He lied about Medicaid. About the multinationals getting the $80 billion from the tax cuts. Bill, if you don't know, 98% of Australian companies pay their taxes in Australia. Only 2% of multinationals pay their taxes. Why don't you go after the multinationals that aren't paying their taxes? Oh, it was under Labor, Wayne Swan, that actually got rid of the royalties from the gas. So Bill is all talk, all bluff, and he doesn't know what he's talking about with a lot of the things with the economics of this country. So I don't have any time for Bill Shorten as leader. Maybe Albanese might be a better leader for the Labor Party than Bill Shorten is, because I tell you what, I don't trust him. Not one iota, and I've had personal talks with him, and I tell you what, the man does not have a clue.
So it's clear that Labor will put you at the end of their ticket, and you're right, they'll stay with the Greens, and the large support of the Green vote goes to Labor, and it helps them get across the line in many of their seats. Have you had similar discussions on preferences with the government? Do you have any idea what the government will do with their preferences to One Nation?
No, I don't, Peter. Look, we haven't sort of discussed preferences at all. If you have a look at it, Bill Shorten says, I'm the lackey of the coalition. Let's make this clear. It is the coalition that is government. They are the ones that put up the bills and the legislation. Labor opposes just for the sake of opposing. They don't want to work with the government, because if they do, they'll never be government themselves. So they're just voting against good legislation and bills. And the thing that will happen after the next election, if Labor happens to be government, then we will look at the legislation they put up. Let me just say, Bill, you don't know your facts and figures, and you're saying I voted 90% of the time, or it was just a couple of weeks ago, it was 100% with the government this year. Let me just say to you, 29% of the time on bills and motions since last October till March, the end of March, we actually voted with the Labor Party 29% of the time. So he's misleading the public. And people are fed up with this. Be upfront, be honest, because he's been telling a lot of lies about One Nation. I don't care about the battlers. We're the ones that actually got past, you know, the farming sector not losing their properties, the Singaporean buy-up. We got the medicinal cannabis. We actually attacked the CPO of Australia Post getting $5.6 million a year in wages. You know, everything that he says is not true. And Labor are so full of lies and run by the unions. Is this what the people of Australia want? I don't think so.
A lot of his letter, Pauline, had content there regarding these corporate tax cuts. Now, you're on the record saying your predisposition, or you correct me if I'm wrong, predisposition or firm support is there to support the government on these tax cuts.
Yep.
Is that still the case? You're still in behind the government on the corporate tax cuts?
Yes, I am, Peter, because I've looked at what's happening in America with the tax cuts over there. It has boosted jobs and increase in wages, as they're saying over there, and also a lot of the companies are, they're moving ahead to actually, with incentives to increase their businesses and increase employment. And I believe that is beneficial to Australia, and that's what we need. The whole thing is that these tax cuts are very important, but I'm also talking to the government of many other issues, and to actually bring billions of dollars into the country from, incentives that I'm saying that we need to tackle the multinationals and paying taxes in Australia. So that's another side of it. I'm not just giving tax cuts, I'm also looking at how we can get revenue into the country.
Better capture.
And I think that's what we need. Yeah.
Let me ask you then about the personal income tax cuts. As you know, they're structured over 7 years. There's 3 separate tranches of tax cuts that will require, for the full weight of them to hit the ground, 3 election wins to stay with the coalition. Where are you? You indicated last week that you support the first tranche. I'm not sure about the second and the third. Can you help me out?
Definitely support the first and definitely support the second. My only concern is further down the track, because they don't come in, the third one doesn't come in till 2024. And the cost to the budget could be around about $24 billion. Peter, the main concern of Australians is the black hole in the budget. And the black hole, the monies that we owe, $550 billion plus, we can't keep going on this way, because if we don't start reining in our debt, I know people need relief. I know they're taxed to the hilt in this country. But unless we've got to cut back on government spending, this is what I'm looking at as well, and I'm putting these ideas up to the government. Bill Shorten, all he wants to do is throw out all this money all the time. He's going to destroy the housing sector by negative gearing, getting rid of that, the capital gains tax. He doesn't understand how people feel. They've got the highest electricity costs. This is what's destroying businesses in Australia. Is this 50% renewable? He wants increased foreign aid, to give money, Australian taxpayers money, so way overseas. We can't afford this. That's what I'm saying. Let's do everything in a managed way. I want to talk further to the government about these tax cuts and see if are we going to be able to afford this.
Well, look, I can't commend you enough for talking about debt. I don't think either side, to be fair, talked enough about debt last week in the budget. I went through the budget papers. You will see all the budget documents in the Senate. You will be responsible for giving the government licence to spend its money over the next 4 years. Now, according to the budget papers, Pauline Hanson, the government wants to spend $2,000 billion, $2,000 billion over the next 4 years. That's not unusual. Commonwealth outlays are about $500 billion per year, but it's only got $404 million in savings over that same 4-year period. When you go through the budget papers, it's there in black and white. We've got to do better on debt, don't we?
Oh, far better, Peter, and this is why I keep looking at it. And I think we've just, spending too much money, we're wasting too much money through the government, the public service. What we're paying these bureaucrats is just ridiculous. If Bill Shorten's worried about the battlers, then why isn't he talking about what the bureaucrats get paid? No one said, and I'll go back to the CEO, $5.6 million. He got paid out over $10 million when he left this, his job. Bureaucrats, we've got deans and chancellors of universities on $1 million a year. We've got a lot of the bureaucrats on $600,000 and $900,000 a year. It does not pass the pubs test as far as I'm concerned. And he's worried about the battlers. What did Labor ever do for the apprenticeship scheme? Since I've actually been calling now for 1,000 apprenticeship places in Australia. What's Labor done? They shut down the TAFE colleges. They haven't worried about the apprenticeships. And these are things that he's saying, I don't worry about the battlers. Too right I do. I worry about our youth, their jobs, and I'm worried about, a lot of other things. He talks about penalty rates. It was under Labor that they looked after their big mates, the big businesses, the big enterprises like McDonald's, not your normal, takeaway shop that I used to have. And they actually gave them $10 an hour less in their wages through the enterprise bargaining. So, Bill Shorten, I don't trust a word that you say.
Just before we go, the other area, in addition to debt, where you have the whip hand with the government, is obviously immigration. A lot's been said about immigration. Poll after poll says Australians want at least a debate, if not a reduction, in the rate of immigration. Not immigration per se, but the rate at which people come to this country. What are you going to do about it, Pauline Hanson?
Look, I'm going to keep talking to the government about it. They say in the budget papers there's 1.6% of the GDP is through productivity. Now, the other 1.4% is immigration. Immigration does create the productivity. Yes, they spend the money, but that's not a true reflection of the productivity of the country with GDP. And this is another thing is, it's not spoken about. The Liberal Party base their whole budget around this, and I think it can fall over at any time. Again, I'll say to you, what is Labor going to do about immigration? And I'll tell you, absolutely nothing. Because they want to increase the refugee numbers, double them, and they will open up the borders more to further immigration, and we'll have the boats coming into this country. So immigration is what the states have to pick up the pieces. The states have to actually build the infrastructure, the roads, the schools, the hospitals, and the people cannot afford it anymore. Immigration does determine our standard of living and our way of life. And I will keep talking about it until I can get some common sense into the government and the Labor Party. We cannot keep increasing it, because over the next year, it's going to be, apart from our own immigration, they're bringing in around about 230,000 a year. Plus we've got natural increase of 155,000 a year. Plus we've got 457 visa holders, or the visa holders, plus students, about 340,000 a year. We're increasing so much and we can't cope with the increase.
Well, Pauline Hanson, I'll be coming back to you to see how you go on the immigration front in particular, but also on the debt issue, because both are, I think, critical to our country in the future. Thanks very much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Peter. Cheers.
Coming up after the break, I'll have my political panel. We're going to talk about this pre-selection over the weekend in the seat of Ryan. A Turnbull government frontbencher has been dumped. Is it fair, or is it that she's a woman? Well, we'll see.
You're watching Credlin on Australia's News Channel.